tuliangazia kwa mapana na marefu.
Watoto ambao huwa hawaangaliwi hata kidogo wakiwa na cerebral palsy huwa wanaumia sana.
Tukigusia kila linalotuathiri.
Kwanza nashindwa kumeza vitu vikubwa, vitu vigumu kama nyama. Kisha unaona hata uji unaleta shida. Baadaye hata mate yanaleta shida.
Mengi yakileta karaha maishani.
Nimediscriminate na watu wengi juu mpaka kuna mahali nilikuwa nafanya kazi. Juu ya kujua niko na ugonjwa wa kifafa, akaniambia nisirudi kumsalimia na akanipa mshahara wangu na akaniambia niende.
Mengine yakiwa kama mwiba wa kujidunga.
Zingine zinauzwa hadharani hapa kwa street eti ili hata nimeona mwingine ati anarudisha ubikira.
Pale unaweka hii tablet, unaweka hii kwa sehemu yako ya uzazi, ni mali sensitive sana. Na kama hii kitu itaeleza vizuri, yani mambo usafi kufuatiliwa, utakuta hata itakuletea vitu vingine ambazo hukuwa nazo.
Siha na Maumbile sasa imerejea kukuelimisha kuhusiana na afya yako. Usikose kuungana naye Mwana Hamisi Hamadi siku ya Alhamisi akujuze mengi.
Welcome back. You're watching Cheche. We're live on... Just a minute. We're back on air. Thank you. Are we? We're all back on air now. Yes. We're back on air with David Makali, Mutedi Njao, Daisy Mdani, and Wanjiko Mo here from Nyandarua. And we've been talking about legislation around gender participation. Before the break, we were talking about the cultural environment. Can we now focus on the proposals on the table and what would work for Kenya?
Yes.
What is achieved? What is feasible?
One at a time.
I think if we go one at a time, and we have already considered one as the very best, we may not really be focusing positively.
Maybe you need to repeat that. Which is the best?
First one, the best one.
Yes.
The best one we feel is putting political parties to the task. And this is how I would like to speak about it in details. Every political party to be guided by laws of the same constitution, that in your party list you must bring a balanced equation of not 2/3 gender. So this is upon political party now to go on the ground. If it is Jubilee, it must go to their stronghold and fight the women that will contest. Just like Daisy have mentioned, it is not an issue of taking a Jubilee candidate in Ibodo or an ODM candidate in Gatundu, because definitely that is not electable. But for this to happen, we want to empower the IBC. That is why the IBC has been in this debate, and empower them fully. First, nomination in this country, you know what happens every day. They are never guided. The guidelines are just on the paper, but sometimes the certificate can be given to the person considering whatever discussion they have with the party officials. So you want to move out of there. Guide and bring policies of nomination. First, nomination to be supervised, observed, guided by the IBC. IBC not just supervising, but also empowered to be able to take measures to any party, any candidate who is going against the constitution. Once we do that, we are sure we shall have the correct candidates, not only correct, but a balanced equation. Then we want to lift the Article 177 now to 98 and 97. And this is when, after we have the election, we shall fill the vacancies that shall be the shortfall. If it is 10, we shall now nominate. And in this case, we want now to bring the name that I mentioned earlier, female. The zebra issue, we want every political party to start with female name, so that if you get just one opportunity to nominate, you will automatically nominate a female. If you get 3, you will nominate 2 women and 1 man. Having said that, we were thinking of a fund, a gender fund to be created. And when Chepkoga spoke of progressive, first we thought progressive in goodwill, that we first finish with the parliament, then we can go to the counties, because even governors, we need governor women, we need senator women, but it was total mischief, I can say. Going back to the point, this gender fund is that any woman that would like to contest in these constituencies, and the research or the data is taken and this woman has potential, she can be funded and she can also contest. This way we found from 10 we could possibly get 40 women. And if we got 40 women, 290 less 40, we shall have 250 and 40 women at constituency. With the 47 women, we shall have 87 women.
Right.
So 87, we will even need to fill possibly with less than 10.
How much influence, though, do you have over your parties? Because these all sound fairly noble, but in reality, as we discussed earlier, which you rejected, you also are guided by your parties and their behavior.
Now, we are going to amend the Political Parties Act. Once it is law, there will be no party which will have to do it or not do it. It will be law. And the political parties, Dongo and the team, will we are going to force them to do it.
Right.
Yes.
I want to ask you, at a practical level, let's assume you are in Nyandarua, and the party there needs to come up with at least 2 nominees who are women to run for the main election. How do you achieve that? How do you reconcile that with the fact that elections have to be competitive and nominations have to be transparent and open, and you don't want political party top honchos to dictate who they want down there, because what you're doing is inviting them to determine, here we'll have a woman, here we'll have a man as a nominee.
Can I say something? Not really. Not really. Remember, every constituency, every ward, every county has always more than 2 contestants.
Always.
We will have even 10, for instance, 10 candidates in a constituency. We don't want to mean that these 10 be women. We want all of them to be all gender, but we want the political party and the rules of the law to give the woman a better environment. For instance, funding the woman, because out of 10 candidates, maybe you have 2 women who are very potential, the one she need and fight the need to have this woman, but she can't reach Mashinani, she has no means of transport, she has no
how will the men receive this?
Let me say something. Edward, please allow me. First of all, if you look at the ratio, men and women who vie, just as many women vie. It is exactly as Mheshimiwa has said. And David, I believe that you have also been a contestant in the electoral process.
Yes.
And we know what happens in political parties. We know the unfair practices. And we know that women fall victim to these things, okay? They're not given preference. I mean, there's Kujuana. You need to know the boss and, whatever. So it's not a fair process. So I want to agree with Mheshimiwa that the political parties really need to
So you want just to foster these unfair practices, but in favor of women? Because I'm trying to look at it practically, and we're trying to clean up our politics.
Yes.
So the system that we propose must be immune from manipulation, from dictatorship, so that actually a contest is fair and the person who comes through properly.
Okay,
otherwise there will be complaints, there will be fights about
the process
prejudice.
must also adhere to the constitutional principles, among them being the not more than 2/3 same gender principle. And so the political parties will also be, aside from working towards ensuring that we meet all those other principles that you have cited, that it is free and fair, secret balloting, they must ensure that they meet the not more than 2/3 same gender principle. And this is where we have to have the goodwill from the party and the party members to ensure that we are working towards achieving this principle. Which is why even we have the Campaign Financing Act now in place, which seeks to limit the amount of money that people can use. Because remember, it's also been an unfair contest, where it is more of a money contest as opposed to an issues contest, okay? So we're trying to clean up our politics by cleaning up the political environment and political processes to make it easier and to make it more fair for even the weaker to be able, because the weaker, when I talk about weaker, I'm talking about perhaps financially disadvantaged and all, that can actually come in with views, because it's not to say that women don't vie. Actually, as many women vie as men.
Daisy. Ms. Muhia, how about we have women volunteering to take up the 145 seats for free? They could even take up 290 seats as long as we don't add to the wage bill. And that came from a man, obviously.
I definitely want to feel that I am not of the idea Keopa isn't neither, where we are bloating the the parliament number for the sake of taxpayers. And that is why we are going back to this very process where we can have the female candidates without having them for free. Because the 145, it is actually even going astray, because boundary-wise, if Nyandaro you have 5 constituencies, and we say each woman to go for 2 constituencies, then we shall have 2 women. The last constituency will then have to be merged with Laikipia, where we shall bring total confusion, because the same contestants, the same voters are still electing the governor. But having said that, I want to go back to Makali's point. Makali, I can tell you from experience, I know very good women in my own county who went for even MCAs, several, not even one, and they were good candidates, but material-wise, they weren't having money. And I could tell you one time I walked somewhere in a shop, and the discussion by men was that is a good candidate, but she doesn't have money. And this was a honest discussion, very honest, meaning even people themselves, the public, given an opportunity, if that woman is able to express herself, to reach everywhere, to put posters like men, these women even don't need it for free. They can be elected, but because they are bagged by this financial muscles and culture ideologies,
can I say something about
that's why
this alleged wage bill? First of all, who has actually done the math to tell us that it is going to bloat the wage bill? Because this is the propaganda that has been used to justify not implementing the not more than 2/3, that it's going to be really expensive, it's going to be a burden on the taxpayer and whatever. Yet nobody has provided us with the numbers. But as the National Women's Steering Committee, we've actually gone ahead and done what many people should have done. We've actually commissioned a study that has been carried out by the Institute of Economic Affairs on the cost of representation in Kenya and the cost of implementing the 1/3 principle. We are going to be launching this report on Friday, this Friday, the 8th, to show what the numbers are, okay? And because I don't want to preempt the launch, I would ask that you ensure that you cover this so that Kenyans may know what the actual cost is, because we have been made to believe that the wage bill has been exacerbated by over-representation as a result of affirmative action, which is not true.
Okay, you've made that point. Ms. Muhia, I'm under pressure to wind up, but respond to this. Cheche, this woman thing just cannot work. The only time you see women MPs clustered together in a press conference is when one of them is sent an indecent SMS or when they want more free seats. Apart from Joaquin Dungu, I'm yet to see another nominated female MP who adds real value, including the 47 we nominated via ballot recently.
That is really misplaced and someone who is not in the current news, because what women do every day. First, we have several women as chairs of several committees, and I want to tell the public that there is a lot what happened in the committee.
I think the perception, let me speak the perception that's coming out of this. Last year we had an awful spate of women being stripped and violated, and those violations are recorded and went viral on social media. We didn't see women MPs coming out and condemning them. It was the Minister for Devolution and Planning, Anwar Guru, and the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Grace Kaindi, whom we saw coming out and condemning them. And we saw in the case of one woman in particular, very swift justice. We then had earlier this year 2 incidents in Parliament. An MP accused of raping someone, and then an incident between 2 MPs, one, harassing the other. And then we saw women MPs, coming to the fore, asking for gender units, decrying, complaining about harassment from their men. And so this is where this is coming from, that women MPs look after their own interests. There's some more text messages saying that women MPs represent the interests of elite women.
Right. Let me just speak of that and first say, when the stripping was there, I think female MPs were together and they walked all the way from Tomboya to Down Street, and possibly they are not known when they are not maybe in their casual attire. And having said that, I want to say that we will definitely come when there are issues, because women are really busy. We are very busy. We can't come if there is no issue. I want to say that 2 weeks last month, personally, I rescued a rape case in Orkarau, and I think it was also covered by Citizen and many other media. So women really have not been on their own. They have been on all issues. But as I conclude, I want to say women have been very busy. They've done a lot, particularly in committees. They've moved several bills, and these bills possibly have not been limelighted, or they have not been in the front because the time has not yet come. Like, for instance, I said my bill is not yet signed. When it is signed, then it shall be the law and it shall be known. And several other women have been there in the debate, in emotions. So basically, it is a misplaced perception again to say that women only fight for their fellow women.
I agree. It is a misperception and miscommunication, because we do know that our female legislators, they advocate for many of these issues, including when the cabinet secretary, acted on the stripping. The women legislators had already piled enough pressure, and the issue of having a gender unit was not discussed at that time. It has been one of the things that has been consistently pushed for. On the other hand, you cannot lay this burden squarely on the women, because it also goes to the perception of women as within our society, that within our society we have people who actually believe that you can strip women, that you can beat women to teach them a lesson. And this is not a women's issue. This is a national issue, and it is a national crisis. And it is not only women who should be speaking about it. It is everybody. We should all be outraged that Kenyans, any Kenyan, would dare to actually do this to another human being. I mean, it is a criminal
one
act.
MP, when it happened, one MP says it depends on how the woman leader behaves.
No,
so like suggesting your conduct will depend on how you are treated.
And in the rape case, women spoke out and asked, what was the woman doing in an MP's office at such a late hour?
You know, it is unfortunate. We heard those remarks, but you cannot give them, you cannot say collectively that these are women's issues, because it was not just women who said that. We had men saying that. We've also heard from the highest office of the land, when a child was violated, that where was the mother when this child was being violated. So it goes back to perception and culture and the way people see things. That a woman, I mean, it's like saying that you justify somebody robbing a bank simply because they're broke, or you go and raid a restaurant because you're hungry. That a woman, the way a woman dresses is calls upon her the need to be raped, or that you were in an office at the late time. What gives anybody that right? And who decides at what time women should be out, whether you're married or not? Who is setting these timelines? It goes back to the socialization and culture where women are taught that there's a certain way that women must present themselves, the way they must dress, the way they must behave. And I think that it's unfortunate that we would have any of those remarks from anybody, male or female.
Okay, so final thoughts. Yes.
Maybe the viewers are also selective in viewing, because in that case, very honestly, you are the first one to speak about it, to walk to the speaker and to ask the necessary measures to be done, even by the committee that is in place for privileges in Parliament. But as I conclude, I want to say that Chepkoga has really to withdraw this bill. This is not a Jubilee bill, it is his bill, and we cannot also do collectively that Chepkoga represents Jubilee.
Just a minute, David. I'd like to ask you to include those remarks in your final statement. I'll come to you. David, Daisy, your final thoughts, please.
My final thoughts are these. The Jubilee administration is the first administration elected under the new constitution. They have a promise within their manifesto, page 30, a promise to women, and they have a constitutional obligation. I am asking the President, on behalf of the women of Kenya and on behalf of the citizens of this country, to uphold fidelity to the Constitution, to honor his promise as stipulated in the Jubilee Manifesto, and to stop this dance around the issue of the not more than two-thirds. Kenya is the leading economy in the East African region, yet on women's representation, we are the last. We are the worst performing. And not only that, obligations are within the Constitution, the MDGs, which are coming to an end this year, the East African Treaty, the IGAD Treaty, the not more than two-thirds gender principle is a defining principle across the board. Therefore, the President needs to lead on this and call his troops to order. The Jubilee members must cite their member, Chepkonga, for tabling such a bill, and for as long as they remain silent on this, it means that it is consent by Jubilee that this is their handiwork and that they support it, and that they mean to actually deny the women of Kenya their fundamental rights and freedoms. And Chakunga must be called to order. He must be called to order.
David and Mutegi, given what we've discussed today, the environment, cultural and political, do you believe that Kenya can meet the deadline for compliance with the 2/3 principle before the deadline?
They can. There's no doubt they can if there's goodwill. But let me go back to the other thing, the appointments. If they are not willing for elective, because they are reluctant because of that Kongade, look at the appointment. Are the appointments gender compliant? Look at the latest of these presenters. Are they?
They are.
They are.
They are. And in fact, the State House spokesman made a statement to the effect that not only did it have representation of all counties and tribes, but that it was compliant with the not more than 2/3.
That's what I'm saying. It is possible.
So, okay, right.
My
David?
view overall is that I think that I would oppose or be extremely opposed to any proposal that will increase the number of representatives you have. So as Mheshimiwa goes back to that committee and that house, they should avoid lifting the lead on the limit of members that we have already elected or nominated to that house. The county example of topping up and affirmative action that results in filling positions to fill the deficit should not be replicated at the national level at all. It will be harmful to our country. It's too much to take. Already there's too much. Looking at the proposal that we've just discussed, because we didn't get into the others, which had been trashed. The one of zoning.
We spoke about them at the beginning of the
But there is one
show.
which we didn't discuss, which I think I would support. The one of cutting down the constituencies back to 210, so that then you reserve the balance of the seats, whichever way you're going to distribute them, to be assured of women representatives to make up the 349. But because this political party's amendment is going to introduce more political fraud, gerrymandering, and corruption when we want competitive, transparent politics that is not based on any interest of the leadership or rules that say you are number one, but you cannot be the nominee because you must have a woman rep from nominee from this area. I think it's fraught with a lot of danger. It's a dead-end proposal.
And so for you, there is political will to see.
As to political
because my
will,
question was, can Kenya be compliant
it can
before
achieve
the
it,
deadline?
because if it does those amendments or constitutional amendments, we can achieve that, and I think we need to achieve it before 2017.
Okay, thank you very much. Our time is up. Our thanks to our guests, Nyandarua Women's Rep and a member of Kiwolpa, Wanjiku Muhia, and to Daisy Amdani, convener of the National Women's Steering Committee. Our panelists as well, David Makali, welcome back, and Mutegi Njau. We've had a robust engagement, and so we thank you all for your opinions and insights. Thank you for watching Cheche. My name is Udra Kamimo. We'll see you next week.